The Buddha has used the word Vijja to mean the actual reality. Because the apparent reality is different from the actual reality. At the Enlightenment, the Buddha realized the actual reality of things and beings, which is different from the apparent reality that the unenlightened ordinary beings experience through their sense organs, which are incapable of knowing the actual reality of anything. Because, for example, we can't see all the colors in the rainbow. We can see only a limited range of colors. We can't hear all the sounds in the atmosphere. We can't hear radio waves with our naked ear. We can't hear TV waves or even mobile waves. We need a scientific instrument to detect them. For example, even our nose is weaker than the nose of a dog. We can't smell what a dog can smell. This shows our sensory experiences are limited, distorted, false, not real, actually real. The actual reality realized by the Buddha is called Arya Satya. Arya means it is translated into English as noble truth. The reality that the enlightened beings can realize. Not through their sight, but through their insight. It is realization of the actual reality of things and beings that one can get enlightened. This is explained by the Buddha himself in his very first sermon called Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, saying, enlightenment took place only after realization of the actual reality or truth of things and beings. In his word, realization of the actual reality is called Vijja udapadi. Literally it means the dawn of the science. Here Vijja means the science of the reality, actual reality. Thereafter, the dawn of the light, alloko udapadi. Alloko udapadi literally can be translated as the dawn of light. Here is a metaphorical expression. It is the light of wisdom. It is nothing but our own insight that can realize the reality of things and beings. It is with that realization, the enlightenment, the light, alloko udapadi, dawn of light, is a metaphorical usage. Disappearance of the ignorance. When the light is dawn, the darkness disappears. Metaphorically, darkness is ignorance. Ignorance means not knowing the reality. In this sense, the basis of enlightenment, called alloko udapadi, is the realization of the actual reality, expressed by the Buddha as Vijja udapadi. The reality that we experience can be twofold. In fact, Buddha himself used the word dukkha to denote the apparent reality we experience in and around us. And the end of that apparent reality is referred to as Dukkha Nirodha. Dukkha, the apparent reality is transformation. In fact, everything and every being are made of universal energy. Energy is not a thing, but an activity. We may call it universal dynamism. This dynamism is apparent in everything and being. Everything as well as every being is dynamic, in a state of constant transformation. That is why the Greek philosopher called Heraclitus, who lived in the 5th century BC, said, "No one can step into the same river twice. Everything is in a flux, constantly changing. Therefore, when you touch that change once, constant change once, we can't touch it again, it has gone away. Like a river, when you step into it once, we can't step into the second time because it has gone down, gone away. Such is the nature of the nature." And even scientists know this actual reality to a certain degree. Buddha went further deep into it through his insight. Not only physical items, but even all mental items are constantly changing. Mental states are changing in a state of transformation. The word dukkha is really transformation, caused by the universal dynamism called anicca. Anicca is really meant by anicca is universal energy. Energy is not a thing but a dynamism, activity, constant activity, incessant activity. Therefore, everything as well as every being is constantly in a state of transformation. And that transformation caused by universal dynamism called anicca is called dukkha in Pali. The result of dukkha, the transformation, is nothing and no one can retain a permanent identity called atta. Anatta means no permanent identity. Everything is in a state of transformation. Once this reality is realized through insight, one cannot get attached to anything because nothing can be retained in a permanent identity. Things are changing. Therefore, there is no point in repulsing. The mind becomes free of attachment called raga and free of resentment called dosa. Through the freedom from the ignorance called moha. In fact, all our activities are misguided by our liking called raga, disliking called dosa, and ignorance called moha. Right action can happen only after the eradication of these three elements called liking, disliking, and ignorance. Attachment, resentment, and ignorance. Called in Pali raga, dosa, moha. In describing the state of enlightenment called nirvana, it is called Nibbana in Buddhist language. In the Nibbana Sutta, Buddha defined that state, saying, Ragakkoyo, dosakkoyo, mohakkoyo, idam uchyati Nibbana. The realization of the ultimate bliss of reality is the extinction of attachment called raga, resentment called dosa, and ignorance called moha. It is through ignorance that we get attached to things and beings, but really not things and beings outside us, what seems to be experienced by our sense organs. We cannot experience the reality of anything outside us, outside our sense organs. We can experience only our mind, the mental images created by the information supplied to the mind by our sense organs. And those informations are false, inadequate, insufficient. Therefore, all our mental images, though they look real, are not actually real. An image is like that. When we are in front of a mirror, we see that our image inside the mirror, as if we are inside the mirror. But we are not actually inside the mirror. It is only a reflection. Our thoughts are reflections. And they are made up of Panchopadana Khandaka in Buddha's language. Buddha defined dukkha, that is transformation, as nothing but the transformation of our own mental states, called our thinking. Sankittena panchopadana khandhapi dukkha. Panchopadana khandha are the 5 elements that go to make up thought in us. They are all made of magnetic attachment. We get attached to our own thoughts and mental images. In fact, in the Nibbedika Sutta, at page 202 of Volume 4 in the Anguttara Nikaya, Buddha said, Sankappa purisassa kamo. We are attached to nothing but to our own mental concepts, mental images, because we can experience only our mental images. Although here raga is both attachment and resentment, for convenience, raga is called attachment, one aspect of mental magnetism. Kama is mental magnetism. The Pali word kama refers to mental magnetism. It has a positive aspect called attachment, a negative aspect called resentment. It further develop attraction and repulsion. In experience, likes and dislikes. They are all mental activities. And these mental activities are working round our own mental images. Realizing those mental images are only delusions and illusions, we come to realize the actual reality. The emptiness of everything and every being that we experience. There is no substance in anything or any being that we experience. Actual substance. There is only an apparent substance. This is the science of reality that the Buddha experienced, that is enlightenment. We too can experience it by constant observations of our own mind. In English it is called meditation. And by developing our inner sight called insight in meditation. Insight meditation is called in Pali vipassana bhavana. It is through insight meditation that one can realize the actual reality within us. That reality is nothingness. Sunyata in Pali. Sunyata in Sanskrit. Meaning is emptiness. Nothing and no being can retain a permanent thing, a permanent substance in this dynamic world of ever transformation, constant transformation. That is why Buddha said, one aspect of the reality of the apparent world is nothing can retain a permanent identity. And that is called anattata. The triple nature of the apparent reality that the Buddha realized are called tilakkhana in Sanskrit, three aspects of the reality. Anityata, dukkhata, anattata. Anityata refers to the universal energy which is dynamic. Dynamic means that energy is in constant transformation. Constant transformation means that nothing can retain a permanent identity. Once one realizes this reality, one realizes that it is futile. There is no point in getting attached to anything or any being, or repulsing anything or any being, because they are constantly getting transformed, constantly changing, without retaining a permanent identity. There is only an illusion. Is the realization of the illusion or the delusion of the apparent world that led to the Buddha to be enlightened and end the life in this very world or the universe which is apparent to us. Therefore, after enlightenment, there is parinibbana, the ending of our mental and physical instinct forever. That is the ultimate result of getting enlightened. And one can get enlightened only by realization of the ultimate reality. And that realization is referred to by the Buddha as mentioned at the beginning, Vijja udapadi, the dawn of science. Therefore, before getting enlightened, let the science, the vision of the actual reality of things and beings may arise in our own mind. And the vision into it, the insight into it. And that can be realized through Vipassana Bhavana, translated into English as insight meditation. Through scientific attitude, it's called in Kanami Sutta, Dittincha Anupagama Silava Dastanena Sampanno. Having a scientific attitude, unprejudiced by preconceived notions, ideas, knowledge. See things as they are. That is why Buddha said at his enlightenment, what he realized at enlightenment, he had never heard before. In his word, Pubbesu Annuttesu Dhammesu Chakkum Udapadi. I realized a state or reality that I had never heard of at my enlightenment. Before realizing that ultimate reality, look at the apparent reality within and outside us, through our sense organs as well as through our inner sight called insight. Insight is the capacity of our wisdom that is inborn in us. This panya, wisdom, panya is the Pali word, prajna is the Sanskrit word. There is a capacity that can realize the actual reality of things and beings. And we are all entitled, endowed with that capacity that can be developed by constant usage. Through observation, then through investigation into what we observe, and come into the correct conclusion about things and beings by realizing the actual reality of things and beings through the science of reality called Vijja.